The Oddisey Part 2. At the German-Czech border, he got a lift by two large ladies in a Trabant, East German mass-produced car. He ended up in Carvoli, Veri, or Car Bad, to put it in Anglo terms, the home of Boulevard, which is my favourite drink in the world. I got to Carvoli. There was a massive statue of a bottle of Berchovka. I thought, I have found my spiritual home. I walked through Carvoli. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful little town, like a mini Prague. It was bright and it was a sunny day. I bought 2 bottles of Berchovka and had a drink and floated through this exquisite town. I went to a restaurant for something to eat, but I couldn't understand the menu. I went up to a group of young women and asked, "Do any of you girls speak English?" They turned to a young woman and said, "She does." It turned out her name was Monica. She said, "How are you? Come here. How come you've come here for our film festival?" I said, "Oh yes, I have hitchhiked all the way from Liverpool in England for your film festival." The young woman took me to several films. One was a series of telephone conversations between people in the evening. I went to a bar with Monica. We danced to Oasis and then we kissed. Then she said she had to go back to the girls in the hotel. She said, "I can't remember the name of the cinema in the centre of town." That night I decided to stay up all night. It was only 12p a pint, and sleep all day in the park because it gets hot in the summer. I was talking to some Czech scallies, going Patrick Berger and Karlov Pabratzi. One guy invited me back to his flat. It was rough, old, Stalinist flat, but he robbed me. I had none of my 60 quid left. So in the afternoon, I went to meet Monica and the girls and I told them what had happened. Monica was saddened. She said, "I wanted to hitchhike to Prague with you. They all had a whip around for me, so I had to get back to Liverpool, the dirty old town." I started walking through the Czech countryside and I was on my way home, but not without meeting many more beautiful people. I walked through the Czech countryside, which was strange, with the odd block of flats dotted around, and I saw a dead big cat, which I've since found out is a lynx, which had been run over. I walked down a country lane. It was a hot, beautiful, sunny day. I walked past a small roadside cafe. They beckoned me over. They happened to be gypsies. They said, "You want a coffee? You want a sandwich?" I said, "I have no money." He said, "No, it's okay, you have. It's okay, you have. I eat my sandwich, had my coffee, and said I have to make my way back to England. So 2 of the beautiful young women got on the road with me and put their legs out. They were 2 German men. They must have thought, we're in here. The women said, can you take this man? He's going to England. They looked annoyed. They said, does he have a passport? I said, yes. We crossed the border into a little town, which was like Preston of Germany. They got out of the car and said, you wait outside. We'll be 1 hour. I looked up at the place they were going to. It said erotic salon, which meant it was a brothel. They took me to Bavaria and dropped me off. That night I slept in a skip. Being Bavaria, it must have been one of the richest places on earth. So I slept on a comfy settee with a blanket on me. It was a starry night. The next day I walked through a forest. Every now and then I would spot a little church. It was like something from a Herman Hesse novel. I got to the edge of the forest. I hadn't have eaten for 2 days, apart from a recent chocolate bar. All I had on me was a Flora London Marathon bag my grandma had bought me with tokens. At the end of the forest was a road. Over the road was a bar. A man shouted over here, mate. I went over. He said, you fancy a beer? You fancy pizza? I said, oh yes, please. So he had about 5 pints and ate the pizza, and I've never felt so free in my life. He got me a job interview with a guy that ran a kebab house in the next pub that we went to, but I fell asleep, so I missed my opportunity to live in Hamburg. Manny or manifested, who had bought me the pizza and beers, was saying, last night I was in a night club MCing at a gig. He said, I was going ladies and gentlemen. Manny was an interesting character. A big man went past us and a guy shouted, Manny. I said, who's that? Manny said, oh yes, he's the mayor of the town. Then we went back to the marketplace. There was a load of teenagers dying for his attention. I spent the night at his flat. I gave him a £1 coin. It had a dragon on it. I said, that's a Welsh £1 coin. He said, Paul, I'm proud to be your friend. So the next day, I left Hamburg and Manny and went to find Bertie, a lovely German lad who had given me a lift. We were into the same type of music, like Washington DC, hardcore, punk. I said I'd be in the Czech Republic for a month. He said, when you come back, give me a call. He gave me his address, Sulzbach, Rosenberg. So I hitched there. It was also a lovely sunny day. I had enough for another Riesen bar. I made it to Sulzbach, Rosenberg. There was a kind of steel words, breathtaking fire. Then the heavens opened. I went to a big grey building. A black guy came to the door. I said, are you Somalian? He said, how do you know? I said, we have a lot of Somalians in Liverpool. I said, do you know Bertie? He usually works here. Usually works here when he's finished college, but he's went back, not back yet. So I stood out in the pouring rain. A young punky looking guy was walking past. I said, do you know Bertie? He said, he's not back from college yet. Do you have anywhere else to sleep?
Slapen.
Anywhere to slapen? in brackets, sleep.
Yeah.
I said no. He said, come back to Oz. He lived in a squat building by anti-fascists to protect the Somalians from attack by the neo-Nazis. He said, dress into these and dry your hair. So I looked like a young German punk. They took me into a room where we all were doing a bong. They passed it to me. I smoked and started to cough my lungs up. They all began to laugh. The German dole system must have been quite good, because they all kept coming back with cans. I was there about 5 days, living the life of Raleigh, but then a guy invited me to his room. He said, I have a film for you, Natural Born Killers. I thought, something I can understand. The only thing was, it was all in German. Then he produced some cocaine. I think he said I have 8 grams of heroin. We go to Denmark, buy some Sensimilia, and come back to Berlin. We sell. I must admit I was into mines, but the next day I left the squat and made the lonely trip home.
Hey, thank you, Louise, my orator and editor.